I've been drawing my whole life, and everybody was always, "You should do something with your art. You should do something with your art." I mean, "You can't make a living as an artist." And they're like, "You should try." I was like, "No, you can't." I'm working in a restaurant trying to figure out what to do with my life, and a guy comes in one day and in between, and he goes out in the restaurant, and I never saw him leave. And I was like, "Okay, I'm cleaning the bar." I go out there to see what he's doing. He's painting a mural on the wall. And I said, "That's what I want to do." So I went up to him and I'm like, "Hey, how do you get this job? How do you paint like that? How do you figure the scale out? What kind of work do you use?" He pulls his glasses off and he goes, "Excuse me, my name's Mr. Parham." In other words, I'm being rude. "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Bailie. Nice to meet you." So. And he went right back to painting and ignored me. Well, I sat there, watched him for hours, asking questions, and he kind of answered me, but I was really just annoying him. So every day he came in, I was doing the same thing, and finally he got tired of it and he hired me. And I said, "I don't want any money." He said, "Good, because ain't no money in this project." I said, "I just want to learn. That's all I want to do. I want to learn." And one day we were walking down the hall and he handed me an envelope. I opened it up and there was $500 in it. And I said, "What's this for?" And he said, "That's for that work you did on that mural." I said, "I told you I didn't want any money." He said, "That's why you got it." I was making money in the restaurant. I just wanted to learn how to do that. And from day one, he gave me half of everything. So 8 years of doing that with him, he taught me everything I knew. He's my best friend, my partner, my mentor, my psychiatrist. He didn't know he took me on the race, but he did. I had abusive parents, so he kind of became my father figure and taught me a lot about life in general. He had congestive heart failure the whole time I knew him, and then he died and kind of left me an empire, and here I am. When I first started painting, Thomas told me, he said, "You want to get good at painting, paint the masters." And when I started painting the first 4 years, all I did was masters. So that's the type of work I did for 4 years. Donatello, Michelangelo, Parmigianino, Caravaggio, all of them. That's all I did for 4 straight years. I don't want to paint that anymore. That's why I want people to see that it doesn't have to be the way it is. It's art. If you want to put zebra stripes on your elephant, do it. There are no rules. It's between you and your piece of art. Art is selfish. It's not between me and my wife or my friend or anybody else. It's between me and my piece of work. And for me, it's not about the destination. I don't care anything about the destination. Once I finish a piece, it's just something to be taught. It's the journey that I like. And I stress that in all my students. That if you're not enjoying the process of, "Well, what if I do this? Well, how can I do that? Is this going to work? That brush sucks. Can I use it? Well, why can't I use that? Can I use that on this? Is this going to work? What if I just wipe this?" You're going through all these things and you're challenging yourself like you're on Survivor, but it's just you. And I've got an art therapy class that I teach, and everybody in the class is in agreement. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. If you're not enjoying doing the artwork, you need to find another hobby. My keywords are creepy and whimsical. Whenever I'm looking for subject matter, I put creepy and whimsical in front of whatever I'm looking for. Whimsical stuff that doesn't really matter and is colorful, to serious things where I'm trying to make a point. I usually go from silly colorful to serious monochromatic. And then sometimes I do it backwards. Sometimes I do serious color and then silly monochromatic. But that's definitely a theme that I follow through my art. The element of whimsical appears in most of my work. Even in my serious work, it's still got that whimsical feel because I guess I'm just hiding the ugly that was inside, trying to rise above and go, "Hey, here's the good parts of me. The bad parts can stay down here. We don't really need y'all to see that. There's enough ugly in the world." Some of the murals I have around town, I guess Chef A's is the one that's most noticeable. It's on this on Magnolia Street. It's a giant train right next to the depot, busting through the wall. I did one inside of RJ Rocker's restaurant. It's taps in local buildings, etc., etc. I did the Sugar and Spice, the 2 inside. I did the one on the outside on the back of the restaurant. I did the one on the side of Bike Works, which is at the rail trail. I did another one right next to the Little River Roasting Company on the rail trail. Most of them are in schools. I did one over at Walford. I did Pine Street Elementary School, New Prospect Elementary School, Opie Earl Elementary School, Welford Elementary School, etc., etc., and the list goes on. So I've done 600 murals in my life, all over the state.
I was doing a school called Boundary Street Elementary, and I started pulling all my pictures out of the area that they were blocked off to be, Boundary Street, and I was like, okay, no boundaries. And I told the kids, you're at Boundary Street, but there are no boundaries in art. And that just kind of became my thing to pull them out of the picture. But when I find a wall, it's usually just, okay, what do I want to put on this? I just kind of make it up as I go. Yeah. So she asked me if I could liven up her building and said, what would you do? And I said, why don't we make these flower boxes? And so I turned them all into flower boxes, and she liked that so much that she said, well, now this part of the wall looks empty. She said, what about a bicycle? And I was like, sure. I'll put a bicycle in there. I had never done a bicycle before. And then she said, well, now the front up here looks kind of dead. What can we do up here? And I said, well, we can make it look like stucco, and the brickwork's coming out from underneath it, and we can put a plant right here. And she said, sounds good to me. I made that one completely up out of my head. I did a play on the Grateful Dead bear. That rabbit is one of my Shadowland characters. I kind of stole the original Woody Woodpecker's head for the bird, and I kind of did my own version of Mickey Rat for the mouse. But I'm here to tell you, it's really hard to paint a round wheel on a corrugated wall. Since I painted this on the inside, because you're looking at it from that angle, that makes it look like it's the inside of the window, so you can't tell that they're not real from the street. And that actually, you know, some of them actually have the lip on them that really adds to, you know, the reality of. We've just always had a lot of artists here. And we didn't get a lot of attention about it until Ed Emery and Steve Simpson decided to do the Artist Among Us book. And it just brought the attention to how many artists are actually in Spartanburg. And it really kind of opened it up for everybody.
Why visual arts should matter to the community is look at the world. I mean, we all need a distraction. And like I said, art's personal. It's to take you away from your reality. Some artists paint their world, and you know, that's how they deal with it. I don't want to paint what's in my head. I want to paint the alternate world. I don't want you to see the ugly. I want you to see the happy. I want you to look at pretty colors. I want you to look at silly, odd things. I want you to look at creepy things, but they're still cute and you want them. I mean, I don't paint to sell, and I never did. And maybe that's why I'm successful. Even my mentor said that that's the one thing he appreciated about me. He said, you'll paint a body of work, nobody buys it, you go do another body of work. Nobody buys it, you go do another body of work. And that's because I'm not painting to make money. I'm painting pictures that I would buy. And if somebody buys it, yay, that's awesome. I can paint more pictures because now I can go buy more canvases. But I made most of my money commercially, so I don't really, you know, at this point, until I start chasing galleries, I don't really need that per se. I ask myself what's next all the time. I mean, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. You know, I started out painting murals, and then I started working at Colors, which is an outreach for at-risk youth. And then I started at the art school, and then I got on the South Carolina Arts Commission roster, so I started doing residencies and murals all over the state. So I've just kind of gone in and out of everything, and then they asked me to teach at Wofford for lifelong learning, so I did that for 6 years. The only thing that I can think of I haven't done is pursue galleries. Galleries don't like me, though, because I don't do the same thing. I'm not predictable. They don't like that. They want they want Thomas Kincaid. They want Jonas Gerard. They don't want me. I sold myself out one time. I did one exhibit, and I knew it when I did it. I'm just going to do a group of stuff that people are going to buy, stuff people want. Everybody came in was like, what's this? When did you start painting seagulls? I mean, nobody liked it. I didn't sell one thing. And I was like, dude, you sold yourself out. You got exactly what you deserved. Don't ever do that again. You knew it was wrong when you did it. And I went right back to painting creepy little characters. And like I said, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Or buy it for somebody you don't like. Even better. Get to know the normal artist. Get to know the weird artist. Get to know why the normal artist paints this and why the weird artist paints that. Go to galleries. Go to the High Museum in Atlanta. Go to the Spartanburg Art Museum. Go see why people appreciate it. Understand it. I don't like every kind of art, but I've got people that come in my studio and look at my religious work and go, I don't care anything about that. And look at my abstract work and go, wow, that's beautiful. And I got people to do the opposite. What in the world is that supposed to be? Don't worry about it. Oh, how much is this? Go in and understand it. Because if you just stand on the outside looking in the glass, you're never going to know what it's like to be in the aquarium. I kind of like to get inside the viewer's mind and go, what was he thinking when he did this? Why did he put that hat on that girl? Why are her eyes green? Why are her eyes black? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do it? Because I'm always ready for the why didn't he's, because, as an artist, you're always defensive, because everything you do is up for criticism. The whole world is out to get you, whether they like it or not, And as an artist, you're only as good as your last hit, just like a musician, And so you just always want to be knocking it out of the park, the next one, and you don't always do that. Like I said, I don't even like all of my own art. Conventional people don't think like artists do. And sorry, conventional people, but they don't. They really don't know why you put zebra stripes on your elephant. It doesn't make any sense, because you can. Because I'm limitless in what I can do. Why would I put my stuff in the box? If I want to put headphones on my monkey, I'm going to put headphones on the monkey. Why not? Because now you're asking me a question why I put headphones on the monkey. Now we're having a conversation about the piece. Originally, the church bulletin picture started as just doodling in church because I'm bored. I'm fidgety. In fact, they put me on AV because I kept wandering around the church till the sermon started. And people are like, well, you're not listening to the preacher. It's like, you don't understand. A true artist is right side and left side. Right side's doing the art. Left side's listening to the preacher. I paint murals in elementary school cafeterias, okay? 900 kids asking me questions. You asking me questions don't stop me. I paint the entire time I'm talking. So I started drawing these pictures, and it keeps me occupied because I'm listening to them and whatever, and I'm drawing, then I get up and sing a song, then I go back and I draw. And of course, by the end of the service, everybody wants to come over and see what I drew. And before I ended up making them a show, I had several people coming up, and they were like, my husband died on this day. Do you happen to have the one that you did on that Sunday? And I gave a few away that way. And then when I did the exhibit, I had people coming up to me going, I bought this one because this was the Sunday that my daughter got baptized. This was the day our parents got married. This is the day, all relative to an experience they had at church, and they wanted the bulletin from that week. When I started doing them, I kept them all. And then at the end of the year, I was like, okay, once again, it grows into these things. Okay, well, let's do an art show. Call it the Church Bulletin. I'll put them all on mats, and we got that wonderful gallery out there. And I said, well, hang them up out there, and I'll sell them all for $10 a piece, and then I'll donate the money back to the church. God gave me the gift. I did it in his house. I get the art show. You get the art. God gets the praise. Church gets the money. Nobody loses. So how the series came about being was just random, like most of my exhibits. I was on Facebook and I saw a friend of mine, and I kept looking at her. I was like, she's always been very unique. She's fun to look at, I guess is a better word. And so I said, I want to paint her. So I texted her and asked her if I could, and she said, of course you can. I'd be flattered. And so I started working on it. Well, as I got finished, I put some popcorn in her hand, and I was just barely noticed it, but I was like, I can call this a night at the opera. And I was like, cool. So I got that done, and I started a second one. I said, ooh, I can do this one a day at the races, like after the Queen albums. So I kind of got that one done. I put a little race ticket in her hand, which you can kind of see. And then I was like, okay, well, now I'm out of albums. What do I do now? And randomly on my computer, my music played a song off the album The Six Wives of Henry VIII by Rick Wakeman. I was like, that's it. I'll make her into Six Wives. One of the challenges of the series was trying to make them all distinctly different and keep them all on the same line, because it's the same person, and you can tell it's the same person. She's got that smile in all the pictures. Some of the smiles are bigger, some of the smiles are smaller, but they all have on red lipstick because she's a signature lipstick girl for sure. So, adding, using cadmium red on this and then adding just a little Venetian red to it. Or using Venetian red and adding raw umber, or cadmium red and then putting magenta or alizarin crimson. You can tell that they're all different colors, but they don't stand out as, oh my gosh, she's got green lips, red lips, blue lips, orange lips. Because I didn't want to go that contemporary. So they're all different, and she's got a funky festive hat on in all of them, because that's me representing the crown. And so the attention's all on the face and the crown. The background's very blurred and distorted. I don't want your attention on the background. I don't want the attention on her clothes or what she's holding in her hand or her rings or jewelry. So it all kind of deteriorates as it gets down. The face is very vivid, and then it just kind of decays as it moves out. I had decided I was going to put a card in her hat. And I put on Facebook, hey, suggestions on the card in her hat. Well, I knew the obvious things were going to come up: the ace of spades, the queen of clubs, the queen, all that. And once again, I'd already thought of all that. I'm looking for something different. I had a student that looked at it and she said, maybe a buckle. And my first initial response is to knee-jerk say no. And I was like, But as I thought about it, I was like, that's a good idea. That's going to keep it kind of a little bit in the dated time period. So I put the buckle on there, and I was like, it worked. It's simple. It's there. You notice it, but your eye doesn't go straight to it. I've all got all their eyes blocked in, and how much of a challenge it's been to make the eyes consistent, even though I've done it before, and I've been looking at this girl for 30 years. So you figure out it wouldn't be a problem at all, but it has. If I did them the way they were originally, nobody's interested in that, because you can find that on the internet. An artist creates, and you buy an artist's work because of the creation that they made and what they put into it, what they added to it. And it's like I tell all my students, it's not about being a copy machine. It's about making your picture right for the viewer. And that's what I wanted to do with these. Guess I invested so much time in the art and passing it forward because because a man who didn't know me from Jack's Alley Cat took me under his wing. Treated me like I was his son. Gave me respect I had never had. And showed me the kind of person to be, and not just following in his footsteps, I guess. My only artist statement is what Thomas always said. He said, when you got to write an artist statement, he goes, here's one for you. Let the work speak for itself. And I was ever trying to get everything just perfect. And Thomas looks over at me, he said, Mr. Bailie, this is not fine art. This is an illustration. We got other jobs to get to. Now hurry up. And he turned around, went back to working, and I started drawing all them little leaves just perfect. And he walked up, took a paintbrush, and went all over those leaves I had just painted. Oh, I freaked out. I just lost my crap. Like, I'm gonna kill this guy. What's he doing? I spent all this time doing that. And he leaned down in my ear and he said, Mr. Bailie, it's paint. If you mess up, you paint over it. And he turned around and went back to work. And I sat there huffing and puffing. It took a minute for that to sink in. And once that sunk in, I went, a job I can't fail at? Oh, this is what I want to do for a living. That was the moment I decided I wanted to be a muralist for a living.